Boom, we are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be, and of course, however you may be listening. Well, guys, the Iowa Hawkeyes picked up a massive victory. I don't know at the moment if this would go down as a quad one victory in men's hoops, but they defeat the Ole Miss Running Rebels 74-69 at the Acrisure Classic. I believe it is in Palm Springs. An SEC opponent. I mean, just right off the bat, guys, anytime you can beat a Power 4 team from a different conference. I guess in basketball it's a little bit different. Some people do consider, I guess it would be, what would be the other conference? AAC, I believe it's the American Athletic Conference as a power, well, it would be Power 5, but traditionally with the Pac-12 gone, it would be the ACC, Big 12, Big 10, and SEC would be the four major conferences. So anytime you can defeat a Power 4 level team, it's a big deal. Ole Miss has one of the hottest coaches, or most attractive hires in the entire country as far as his prestige, how well he's done in recent years. Recently, he coached Texas Tech and took them to tremendous heights. And of course, I'm referring to Chris Beard. Ultimately deciding to transfer to the SEC. And by the way, guys, just for what it's worth, the SEC in the past 5 years, 5 to 8 years, has risen dramatically. And the reason that is, not to get too far off base here, is because with all the added money from revenue sharing and TV deals, they have a lot of money to pay the top coaches. And I remember a while ago I listened to one of Clay Travis interviews. I forget what the series was called. It was like Unfiltered or it was like Wins and Losses or something like that. It was called Wins and Losses, and he interviewed the SEC commissioner, and of course the conference realignment and expansion was a huge topic of discussion, and Greg Sankey discussed how the next sport that they were going to really go after, as they considered themselves top dogs in football, was of course basketball. And I think it really does kind of go back and forth between the Big Ten and the SEC. Some years the Big Ten is better at the top. Some years the SEC, I'm talking the past 5 years, is better at the top. Some years the Big Ten is the best top to bottom. Sometimes it's the SEC. So it's really those two teams. Obviously, the ACC is, in previous years, was a really strong basketball conference. So this is a big win, guys. Like, that's what I'm getting to. It's a long way of saying that this is a big win. So let's talk about it. By the way, guys, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share. You guys know the drill. Thank you guys for all your support. The channel continues to grow, and I really appreciate it. We're coming up on 2,000 subscribers. The game started out slow. Both of these teams traded baskets back and forth. I would say it was the first 5 to 8 minutes. It was really slow. 10 points was not scored by either team for multiple minutes going into the game. And I don't think it was bad offense. Obviously, nerves and, playing your first high-level competition of the year, obviously probably has something to do with it, because there is just like a massive step up in competition and talent level and skill level. And I know I always say this as a reference point, but as a high-level official and former Division I athlete myself, I know this to be the case. And sometimes, it's like they say, two heavyweight hitters going at it, and it's going to take a little bit for them to, hit the ground running and feel one another out. And so that was very much the case in this game. Both teams were getting after it defensively. It was very physical, not in a bad way, not in like a, dirty or, the game was mucky or anything like that. Just really high level play, high level competition going on. And then, I would say Iowa threw the first punch. And it kind of went back and forth a majority of the game. Iowa led, but, of course, Ole Miss just kept hanging around. And, they would be able to tie it or take the lead briefly. And then, of course, Iowa would get it back. And then, I would say from 10 minutes below in the second half, Iowa led for most of it. Kind of toggling back and forth between a 5 to 10 point lead in the final 5 minutes, ultimately winning the game. So let's talk about some of the key aspects. Yeah, Chris Beard was at Texas Tech before, and then he actually went to Texas for 2 years, and then he transferred to Ole Miss. That's very interesting. I mean, Texas is not like a traditional basketball program, but they, when they want to be good and they're willing to throw some money at it, they, can be good. I'm not sure what happened. He went 2022, 2023. He went 7-1 and then left. It says arrest and firing from Texas. Beard was arrested on third-degree felony charge of assault against a family member for strangulation. So there you go. That's why he was let go. Very interesting. Guys, Ole Miss did come into this game 28th in the net. So this will definitely be a quad one victory for the moment. And Ken Palm, I checked it over the weekend just to kind of look at Iowa's upcoming opponent. And I believe they were either 1 or 2 spots behind Iowa or 1 or 2 spots ahead of Iowa. They're now 36th. I think they were 1 or 2 spots ahead of Iowa. So this was a good team that Iowa defeated. Make no mistake about it. And this was a huge opportunity for Ben McCollum to make a statement and show that Iowa right off the bat is ready to compete and be a program to be reckoned with. And so, coming into this game, I really thought that this was about as excellent a first test as it can be. Not, obviously a top 10 caliber team, but a good quality program with good quality talent. Ole Miss did have a player, Keza Giffen, that Iowa was really in on. I can't remember if it was when Fran McCaffrey was there. I don't think it was. I think it was when Ben McCollum was there, and he ultimately decided to play for Ole Miss. And I can see why. He's a starter for Ole Miss. I'm not sure he would have been for Iowa, but, you never know. But as time goes on, I do like the pieces that Iowa has. Obviously, Bennett Sturts is phenomenal, which we'll circle back to him, and he's going to play at least 35 minutes a night, barring foul trouble. But I said before the year that I really liked what I saw from Iowa's left-handed combo guard, I would say. Combs. I mean, I really liked what I saw from him in practice, and I said, multiple times that he was a player to watch out for as a guy that took a big step forward and would give really meaningful minutes to the Iowa Hawkeyes. I just really like how he plays. He plays bigger than he is. He's very heady. He's got a strong basketball IQ. He kind of has an old man guards game, using his height to his advantage at 6'3", 6'4". So he's not too small. And multiple times in this game, he was patient, backed his guy down, made a terrific play, whether it be a pass or a step back shot, 5 to 10 feet out. at 6'4", how he shoots the ball, it's really, it's a good shot. I mean, it's a high percentage shot. So I love the way he plays, and he did that multiple times tonight. He played 38 minutes, scoring 7 points, most of them coming in the first half, 3 of 6 from the field. By the way, guys, Iowa is now 22nd in the KenPom with the 15th best offensive efficiency and 55th best defensive efficiency. I know the broadcasters were saying that Iowa plays really slow. It's definitely not true. It depends on the game. I think that he's saying that based on what he saw from Ben McCollum last year and previous Ben McCollum teams. So I'm not surprised he said that. But for what it's worth, it's not the case. Without the net rankings being updated, Iowa is 63rd in the net, which obviously Iowa will climb multiple spots with this quad 1 victory, as they already have a quad 2 victory over Xavier, and they will pick up this quad 1 victory over Ole Miss, and they have multiple quad 1 opportunities coming up against Michigan State, Maryland, and Iowa State. So the difference in this game, guys, I know I've kind of been all over the place, 'cause there's just a lot to go over, was Bennett Sturtz. He showed why he is an NBA first-round draft pick. He got whatever he wanted when he wanted it. He shot more threes today than, I think we've seen all year long, which is okay, because I think he's been trying to get his guys involved and, build up their confidence and, work the offense and kind of, develop as good players do. They don't force the envelope, and they look at the context of the game and allow for development. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves as an official, and why I don't really do youth sports anymore, because too many fans and parents have no idea, especially in the sport of basketball, about development, and they're far too concerned about winning the game than their kid developing, when the fact of the matter is, 2 years from now, Lil Johnny may not even play. So I say that to say, Bennett Sturtz obviously is a really heady, smart guy, and in the games where Iowa is obviously favored, we did not see him push the envelope, and he still got his. And so it was good to see what his repertoire was today, and him go into his bag, as the kids call it, and kind of see, really where he's at and the skill level that he has. And guess what? He passed the test. Like I said, he got everything he wanted. He scored at the rim. He scored mid-range. He got to the free throw line. He took more threes today than we've seen, knocking them down, step back threes. Bennett Sturtz, just to kind of put it bluntly, is the first round draft pick version of Josh Dix. I think he's a little bit longer. They're both technically 6'4". I think Bennett Sturtz probably is closer to 6'5". He looks it more. I think he's a little bit more filled out. And this is not to say that Josh Dix is a bad player. Like, he's a good player. I would have loved for Iowa to have had him. I think, can you imagine had Iowa had Bennett Sturtz and Josh Dix? I mean, it would have been one of the best backcourts in the entire country. But just to kind of give you guys a comparison, like I said, Bennett Sturtz is the first round version of Josh Dix. They're very similar in how they play, very smooth. Not elite passers, but still good passers, very good ball handlers, very good with the step back and creating space. They both have shots that are extremely hard to block, although I think Josh Dix is probably a little bit better with that. But Bennett Sturtz is an all-around scorer, and he knows how to get to the rim. He knows how to draw fouls. He's just got an uncanny ability to score, and good scorers know how to get to the free throw line, which he does. His basketball IQ with regards to that is through the roof. So Iowa won today flat out because of Bennett Sturtz. That dude flat out passed the first test. It's like Iowa has climbed up to 60th in the net. I don't know if it's fully been updated yet, but it looks like the website I use is Warren Nolan. It looks like they have the Ole Miss victory in there. I would have thought that they would have climbed a little bit higher, but nonetheless, it's still huge to get a quad one non-conference neutral victory. We'll see if this game ends up being a quad one victory throughout the year, but still. So anyways, as I said, Bennett Sturtz balled out. He scored 29 points, 9 of 20 field goals, so almost 50%, 6 of 8 from the three-point line, and he shot 5 of 6 from the free throw line, 6 of 8 from the three-point line, if I misstated that. 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover. That's the one thing I would say is, like I said, he's not a bad passer. He's still a good above average passer, but I would say that that's maybe the one thing that I think he still needs to develop on a little bit better. But I think if the talent level was there around him, as it will be in the NBA, I think he will, by virtue, have a higher assist to turnover ratio, or higher assist ratio when he's not called to score as much as he is at the college level. But, still, 2-to-1's not terrible, but, given playing 40 minutes, I would think that you'd be able to at least get to 3 assists. That's just one small point. Again, he played phenomenally well, and Iowa needed him to score, but still. And then outside of that, Cooper Koch gave good minutes. He did have a turnover here or there. He's a little antsy, but he still chipped in 14 points. He was 1 of 3 from the three-point line, 5 of 7 from the field. Again, he continues to develop. Thank goodness he decided to stick with Iowa. I think he's going to develop into a really nice player as he continues to get experience, and he gets more and more confident shooting that three-point shot. And then Tavion Banks had 7 points. Cam Menyawu had 6. I really like how Cam Menyawe plays. I always say Cam Menyawu because his last name is spelled A-W-U. But I've heard people say Menyawe. He plays bigger than he is. He moves, I think, agility-wise, really good for his 6'9", 6'10" frame, which is good because he is a bit undersized, but he's really long, and he's very explosive in getting to the rim. He did get blocked once or twice against Ole Miss, but again, it's Power 4 level competition. Ole Miss has some athletes out there. He did only play 16 minutes, but he played hard. And, I think he gave Iowa some good minutes, and he will continue to develop. He's got 1 more year of eligibility, but he'll continue to develop. Let's see here. Alvaro Fogueres had 7 points in 21 minutes. He played well, had some good passes, knocked down some big shots. Isaiah Howard, 13 minutes, 4 points. Tate Sage played like a freshman. It was too big of a moment for him. He missed some boxing out some guys, was kind of in no man's land a few times, not in the correct spot in his help side defense. But still, it's good that he's getting some experience. And then Brendan Housen, 8 minutes, 0 points. I think, honestly, guys, I don't know what Iowa paid for him. I expected him to be a starter this year. I think most of it was just based on, what he had done at other places, albeit at places they didn't win at a high level. But I think this is what we're going to see from him. I think maybe some nights he might play more than 10 minutes against Power 4 level competition, but by and large, he's going to come in, give Iowa a few minutes here and there. If he can knock down some shots, great. Otherwise, he's coming out. And, the reason being is because Ben McCollum puts a premium on defense, which I will circle back to. Team stats, Iowa shot 43%. Not great, obviously. They limited Ole Miss to 47%, 36 to 35% in favor of Iowa from three. Iowa shot 75% from the charity stripe. Ole Miss shot 85. Iowa made 18 free throws. Iowa out-rebounded Ole Miss 30 to 29, which is, again, the story of the game. That is massive. Last year, do you think that Fran McCollum's team would have found a way to out-rebound Ole Miss? No, absolutely not. Because from top down, the structure, the grittiness, the systemic attention to rebounding just would not have been there. This is a game that I guarantee Iowa would have kept close because they would have been able to score really well. But in the end, they would have lost by 8 to 10 points just because they gave up, way too many easy points and got out-rebounded tremendously. Assists, it was 9-9. Steals, 5-2. Blocks, Ole Miss did have 7 blocks compared to Iowa's 1. Again, I've said it time and time again. That's the one drawback to this Iowa team. They don't have any shot blockers on this team. Total turnovers, 13-7. Iowa only had 7. Iowa had 13 points off the turnovers compared to Ole Miss's 8. Fast break points, Iowa had 0. That's not great. Ole Miss only had 4, so it's good that Iowa limited them to 4. Points in the paint, 28 to 26 in favor of Iowa. Largest lead, 8 for Iowa and 4 for Ole Miss. So my final thoughts, guys, are this. As I said, if this was last year, this is a game that Iowa would have lost. As I said, they would have been out-rebounded. They would have been out-hustled. They would have kept it close because they could score the ball so well. But in the end, they would have lost by, 8 to 15 points just because of how easy it would have been for Ole Miss to score. We saw how often did we see that last year? It happened time and time and time again where Iowa would play above average competition and they would have the offense, but in the end, they would lose, not decisively, but it was never as close as the score indicated because from a competition level, they just were never really truly in the game, because the other team got whatever they wanted. And so for me, being able to see this version of an Iowa team travel across the country, as Ole Miss did as well, and compete as they did, and they did against Xavier as well, and defend, limiting Ole Miss to under 70 points is very impressive. Yes, Bennett Sturtz passed the test, and that's a big deal. But to me, listening to Iowa fans for the past couple of years clamor about how frustrated they were with Ben McCollum and, the lack of defense, the lack of tenacity, the lack of consistency on that end of the floor, to see what Iowa was able to do against Ole Miss, who is likely going to be an NCAA tournament team, was great. It is a hugely positive sign. And if you're not excited by this as an Iowa basketball fan, I don't know what to tell you. Because, again, this is what all of us were clamoring for, and we're finally starting to get it. Is there still room for improvement? Absolutely. Iowa still is only 55th in defensive efficiency, which is great. Like, I'm not complaining. But obviously, 55th, you can still get better. But 55th means that you, especially with, the how many 100 plus 165 college basketball teams and, Division I, they are what I would categorize as a good to great defense. And, we have consistently seen it, which is something that was missing and lacking over the past 5 years or final 5 years of Fran McCaffery's tenure. So that coupled with Iowa out-rebounding Ole Miss, again, these are just massively positive signs for Iowa. And I doubt Iowa was favored to win this game. They probably weren't favored to get blown out. It looks like Iowa was favored -4, but still, all of these things are supremely positive things. And, if you didn't watch the game, I recommend you watch it because it'll show everything that I'm talking about. This team competing, being level-headed, and going the distance. Does this team have the most talent in the world from a player-to-player level? No. I think they have more talent than most people realize, especially untapped talent with the younger guys. But I really like what I'm seeing, and I can't wait to see what some of these juniors like Cale Combs and Cam Menyawe, and even some of the seniors and Tavion Banks and Alvaro Fogueres are able to develop as the season goes on. I'm really excited about Cale Combs. I think he's going to be a really nice piece that nobody saw coming as a nice sidekick to Bennett Sturts. They're both skilled. They both can shoot it. They're both more athletic than people give them credit for. And so, they both can pass the ball. They both play hard defensively. They're not the best defensive backcourt, but they do the job. This is going to be great tape for Bennett Sturts and his NBA dreams and hopes. And lastly, as I record this, it looks like Grand Canyon is leading Utah 43-36. Utah is 5-1. Grand Canyon is 3-2. Both these teams over the past 5 years have been solid teams. Iowa played Grand Canyon in the NCAA tournament. Grand Canyon is where I got my master's degree from. There's 9 minutes to go, so we'll see who Iowa is going to play tomorrow. Unfortunately, we won't know by the time I post this. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Iowa defeats Ole Miss 74-69. Big victory, big quad one victory. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy, Willow. In fact, your feelings, because your feelings just matter. Love you, Hawk fans. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.